Breaking news in the NFL. The long-awaited trade of Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets is now completed. Per multiple reports, the Jets and Packers will swap first-round picks this year, with Green Bay moving up to number 13 and the Jets sliding down to 15. The Packers will also receive a second-round pick this year and another in 2024 that can convert into a first-round pick if Rodgers plays in 65% of the plays this season. It closes the book on a Hall of Fame career in Green Bay, where he was a four-time MVP and led the franchise to its fourth Super Bowl title during the 2010 season. Now the focus moves to winning a Super Bowl in New York. The Jets have not won the big one since winning it all with Joe Namath back in Super Bowl III. Let's bring in our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, for more on this deal. JJ, first of all, your reaction to the news that Aaron Rodgers is now a member of the New York Jets.
Well, a sigh of relief as a reporter that this is finally done. And it's not officially done, Jeremy. GM Brian Gutekunst of the Green Bay Packers, very clear that this has been finalized. That is what my sourcing and reporting is telling me. But it is not officially done, that a couple other things still have to be completed, including but not limited to Aaron Rodgers working out a restructured deal that's going to help facilitate this trade. And so it's going to be very interesting. One of the more convoluted contracts in all of the NFL when you consider all of the extensions and void years and everything that they have done over the past couple of years with Aaron Rodgers' deal. What exactly that's going to look like. So still plenty more to figure out in terms of the numbers on that. But fans probably don't care about that necessarily. They care, okay, who's going to be the quarterback of what team? And here, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, as we have known for really a month or so, ever since that New York Jets plane went from New Jersey all the way out to Malibu and met with Aaron Rodgers and his representation more than a month ago. We have known that Aaron Rodgers would ultimately be a New York Jet for the 2023 season. And so here we are. We just didn't know when exactly it would happen. And Jeremy, what I can tell you is that the last time these two sides talked up till last week was at the NFL owners meetings in Phoenix, Arizona. And then things kind of cooled off for a little bit. And then they re-engaged late last week. And so they talked over the weekend, worked out these parameters, this trade compensation. And so now what you have is heading into the draft, both teams knowing exactly what they have going into Thursday night with a quick little pick swap there in the first round. And then, of course, that second rounder. Ultimately, what folks need to understand is this is really, if you believe Aaron Rodgers is going to play 65% of the snaps, which of course he will, this is really Aaron Rodgers, 1 and 2.
Well, in terms of the deal getting done, I mean, as you mentioned, there's still some details to work out, but the expectation is Rodgers is going to be playing in green and white for the 2023 NFL season. So he reunites with Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, what are the expectations here with Rodgers coming over and rejoining Hackett in terms of what it means for this offense in New York?
Super Bowl, right? I mean, that is absolutely what is going to be the expectation here in New York with the Jets. You're going to have these expectations where, yeah, okay, it's Nathaniel Hackett, two guys who know one another well, of course, their years together in Green Bay as his offensive coordinator. And obviously it didn't work out in Denver necessarily for Nathaniel Hackett, but these two believe that it's going to work out for both of them in New York. Look, you don't send a 2 and a 1 essentially to Green Bay for a four-time MVP with no thought or hope. Or obviously you have hope, but you don't know that he's going to be playing in 2024. You can hope that, but you don't know that, and certainly not beyond that. And so really the New York Jets believe that this is our one shot. This is our one good year. It's 2023. We should have been in the playoffs after the way that we started, the middle of the season, and then obviously the collapse there in the third quarter of the year into the end. And so if you add a guy who is an MVP caliber quarterback, if not an MVP like he was 2 of the past 3 years, then what you're going to get is a team that maybe can win the AFC East. Maybe you can win some playoff games, but it's not just about getting into the wild card game. It's not just about winning the division. This is about finally getting over that hump, a hump that the New York Jets franchise has been unable to get over really in modern NFL times. We can talk about Super Bowl III. I don't remember Super Bowl III. I remember the Jets losing in the AFC title game more than a decade ago, and they need to get back to that. That's what the standard and the bar is here.
Super Bowl or bust now that Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, or set to be the quarterback, of the New York Jets. Lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones joining us here to discuss this breaking news. Aaron Rodgers has completed a deal, or is in the process of completing a deal, that will send him from the Packers to the Jets. Of course, more on this and everything leading up to the NFL draft on the Pick 6 podcast. You can download and follow wherever you get your podcast audio.
We have our senior CBS Sports writer here with us, Pete Prisco, to talk about this big news, Aaron Rodgers being traded to the Jets. Pete, there was a lot of if and when it happens, and it's finally here, this news. What's your initial reaction to the trade?
Well, I'll tell you what, the Jets gave up an awful lot. This looks like a go-for-it type of situation, which you came to expect once you heard that Rodgers wanted to play for the Jets. But when you look at it on the surface, let's just say he plays the entire season for the Jets and they don't win his Super Bowl, and then he decides to walk away again next year. You know what they'll be giving up? 2 spots in the first round, which, that's not so bad. You give up a second this year, the extra pick in the later rounds this year, and then a second next year that would go to a first. So it would essentially be another first-round pick. Way too much. I think the Green Bay Packers got the better end of this deal. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers guy. I still think he can play at a high level. But, man, they gave up a lot to go get him.
And, Pete, you kind of alluded to it as well. There's been questions about his commitment. You said, hey, if he comes here and they don't win it, he only plays for 1 year and then he walks away. With all of that in mind, Pete, how do you think that Rodgers fits with a young and up-and-coming team?
Well, I think if he goes there and he's part of the, off-season workouts, which he hasn't been all the time in Green Bay, and that was part of the problem last year with the young receivers. They didn't get a lot of opportunities to work with him. He's got to be committed, and by that I mean pot committed. He's got to show up. He's got to be around. He's got to work with the young receivers, guys like Garrett Wilson. Try and get those guys acclimated to what he wants from them and what they can expect from him. If he does that, they got a legitimate chance to win the division. They got a legitimate chance to be a Super Bowl contender. But, man, in the AFC, he would have had a much easier path had he stayed in Green Bay. You look at the AFC, even in his own division, I still think the Buffalo Bills are the team to beat in that division. I think Josh Allen and gang can still play at a high level. I think they'll be better than they were a year ago. And then you got the Miami Dolphins on the rise in that division. Then you go to the rest of the conference. I mean, the Chiefs, the Chargers, all around the conference. Even Jacksonville's on the rise, Cincinnati. So I think it's going to be a lot tougher for the Jets to get to the Super Bowl than it would have been had he gone to Green Bay to maybe get the Packers into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Pete, speaking of the Super Bowl, this is a little note from our research team. The Jets now have the 6th best odds to win the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers there. Again, behind, of course, KC, Buffalo, Philly, Cincy. But you really don't think with Aaron Rodgers there in the AFC East, they're not automatically a contender to win that division?
Oh, they're a contender to win it. No question about that. I mean, they have a good, young, talented team. They needed to solve the quarterback position. I understand it. They still have some uncertainty. They have some uncertainty on the offensive line, guys coming back from injury. I'm sure they'll address that in the draft. Breece Hall coming off a major injury at running back. The defense has talented young players. They got to continue to grow together. But that is a good team. And this is a year where they have to win. Clearly, when you go make a move like this, you think this is the year to make that push to win a Super Bowl. And let's be real. Robert Saleh, the coach, and Joe Douglas, the general manager, they probably need to win this year. So if they don't win, you're going to see changes. And if they don't win, what does Aaron Rodgers do next year? Does he play this game all over again? Will I, won't I? Does he go into the darkness? I think they better have gotten more than a 1-year commitment from him as it relates to this trade.
All right, that is our CBS Sports writer, Pete Prisco, joining us here on HQ to talk about that huge news out of the NFL, where the long-awaited trade of Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets is now completed, according to multiple reports. And for more news happening around the league, make sure you check out the All Things Covered pod with B-Mac and his cousin Pat P. You can download and listen wherever you find your pods, or you can watch by scanning that QR code on your screen.